This episode of the Concierge CPA is brought to you by Tax Plan IQ. Check out our new growth subscription. We are seeing tremendous results. Tax plans sold for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, and clients getting millions in tax savings. We are making a revolutionary difference to our clients and to theirs as well. So thank you, Tax Plan IQ. Welcome to the Concierge CPA. I'm Jackie Meyer, founder of the Concierge Accountant Program and Tax Plan IQ software. This is a podcast for accounting firm owners and influencers who are pursuing world-class service. We discuss their path to excellence, their daily habits, and what influences them and their work. We believe that every person has a unique message that can positively impact the world. Stick around till the end of the show. We'll reveal how you can be our next guest. Let's go, y'all. Welcome to the Concierge CPA podcast. I'm Jackie Meyer, your host, where we get to the bottom line for advisors and entrepreneurs. Today, I have a friend and colleague, Anton Anderson, with me from Elite Resource Team, ERT. And we have been cooking up some really cool stuff this year to better the profession across financial advisory to the accounting side of things. And so I'm really excited to have him and hear his thought leadership around this topic. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, of course. So tell everybody your life story. So you were born in, no, just kidding. Well, you can start there, I guess, but then we'll fast forward a little. Tell us, how did you get to this point today? And what does ERT do?
Okay, very good. So life story. I was born and raised in Southern California, little entrepreneurial boy at heart, selling berries at the end of the street and all that good stuff. I got into financial planning and wealth management because I thought that was really the best way to utilize my entrepreneurial skills. And I enjoyed it to a degree. I started at Smith Barney, and then I broke off and joined a smaller firm in San Diego that helped high-end clients with more of a multidisciplinary approach, kind of the early parts of a multifamily office. And then broke off in 2009 and started my own practice and grew that for a number of years via collaboration with CPAs and attorneys. So after a few years doing that, the little entrepreneurial itch came back out, and I started hearing from the marketplace that there was an interest from other advisors to show them more of this collaborative approach that I had taken with CPAs and attorneys. And so in 2014, sold my individual practice, started Elite Resource Team as a training and education company. And fast forward 10 years, that's essentially what we have built. We've trained over 1,200 advisors, and we have worked with advisors in almost every state. And it all really fosters around this idea of, I think together we can offer much better planning to really any client, but especially high net worth earners and successful business owners. And so it's all about the collaboration between the advisor, the accountant, and then more so recently, we've really realized what we've built over the last 14 years, 4 years from my individual practice and 10 years at Elite Resource Team is a virtual family office. So we had just been developing these relationships with different niche experts to offer more robust services to our joint clients. And then kind of we looked up at the marketplace and went, wow, we've got over 70 experts that we've vetted and worked with. And this is truly a virtual family office. So that's kind of what we do today and a little bit of the background on how we got here.
Nice. So is that how you would define virtual family office? Like having the connections? Because I mean, everyone kind of throws that term out there. What does it really mean?
It's such a good question. It's funny, when I was even explaining it a minute ago to you, why I said we kind of woke up and realized we had a virtual family office is because I never even heard that term when I was originally building these relationships with different niche experts.
Yeah,
what happened
exactly.
was my background was an advisor, and I was partnered with typically a CPA, once in a while an attorney, and we'd do some great planning for a client, and then they'd say, oh, and hey, by the way, I heard from my brother-in-law, heard on an airplane, I read about this strategy. Do you offer business valuation? Do you offer cost segregation? Do you offer R&D tax credits? Do you offer any of these things? And the CPA and I would look at each other and kind of go, we're sure we can find somebody who's an expert in that for you. It might not be
Exactly.
us, but
Yeah.
let us go. And oftentimes it was me because I was young and had more time than the CPA at that point. And so I'd say, let me go interview a dozen different firms and see if I can find someone that I think would be a really good fit for us. And then
Yeah.
I'll introduce like the top 2 to 3 to you, and we'll decide which one's the best to introduce to our mutual client.
I
And
love
so,
that.
yeah, you do that over 4 or 5 years and you kind of go, I got a dozen or so experts. And then you fast forward a decade of doing that at Elite Resource Team. And so I said we've got over 70 experts that we've fully vetted, done background searches, talked to other clients that they work with, meet with them on a monthly basis, have some type of typically a revenue share arrangement. And anytime an advisor or an accountant in our community needs something that's outside of their area of expertise, it basically is there for them to plug into.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room when you mention accountants and financial advisors, which I think that term is going to blur significantly over the next decade as more accountants become advisors, financial advisors become a bit more strategic with their advice than just one particular niche, right? But there's still stigmas around that relationship between the two, and like the financial advisor being the salesy, cheesy person, and the accountant being very stiff, and they don't want to have any fun or laugh ever.
Yep.
What would you say to that? Is that true, or
Isn't it funny? Because here we are. What's your background, Jackie?
CPA,
CPA. What's my background? Financial
financial
advisor.
planner?
Yeah.
But
And
you're
so
special and I'm special.
we are, aren't we? We are.
We're special. We special. But
We
no,
special.
like
We're the
that's
unicorns.
exactly what I did when you were describing you going out and quarterback finding those relationships. That's exactly what I did in my CPA firm.
Yeah.
I took that extra mile with that curiosity or passion or whatever it was. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but a lot of people don't have that. And they're like, I'm going to figure this out. I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to go figure out who does. And I'm going to find the best expert and I'm going to plug them in. And that's what made you so successful. So it's, yeah.
I love that. And I think that what you just said, like, really drives that point home, which is it's not about a designation or a license that allows you to play that role for a client. It's really about your mindset and your willingness to, and your desire to offer truly more of a comprehensive and a holistic experience to your clients, whether or not it falls within your traditional definition or your traditional title that other advisors are doing for their clients or other CPAs are doing for their clients. So I think, as you said, the worlds are blending. It's much less relevant in my head what initials you have after your name. It's really, can you create a value proposition that's attractive to your ideal client? And it's just my position that historically, advisors have done a terrible job of proving that they're quality partners to accountants and CPAs. I understand and I respect, I appreciate that. I know where that's coming from. And for the most part, there's a lot of truth to that. Unfortunately, what has happened is there's created that stigma. And so a lot of accountants are closed off to that discussion before it even begins. Now, I think there's two interesting conversations to have around this. One, I still truly believe that there are plenty of really good advisors that don't fall under those stereotypes and are driven from the right place and can be really good collaborative partners to CPAs, and vice versa, by the way, right? Because obviously, if I'm doing a podcast that's hosted by a wealth manager and geared towards financial advisors, they're going to have stereotypes about CPAs, as you kind of alluded to a moment ago. And I'll simultaneously say, you know what, there's great CPAs and enrolled agents, accountants out there that don't fit that stereotype of just wanting to cover their butt and only be reactive for their clients, et cetera. So I think there's segments of the industry or the population that don't fit that stereotype and really truly do bring a better experience to their clients. And by the way, can enjoy their businesses more, can make more revenue by working together, can do a better job of holistic planning and implementing strategies. But what is interesting, so that's part of the conversation, Jackie. The other part of the conversation that we've been having recently is for the accountants that really have had a bad experience, or maybe that stereotype is driven so deep that they don't want to even try, right? They don't want to trust this guy named Anton from San Diego, and they want to be open to an introduction to an advisor. I think the value of the virtual family office is really hard to deny independently. So we've had relationships with accountants where they've said, I'm not ready for an introduction to an advisor yet. Can you show me how by leveraging your 70 plus virtual family office experts, I can actually do a better job of delivering more holistic planning to my end user clients? And then slowly we educate them over time on, that's great. That's such a good step in the right direction. And if you had a partner walking with you hand in hand down this journey, you might find it even easier to get to your destination.
Sure.
And so we've kind of woken up to the fact that some of those stereotypes are really hard to break. Sometimes by putting the partnership too early in the conversation, it closes off a segment of our industries that are closed to that. And so what we've found is the discussion around the virtual family office is kind of like, what is it? The well in the center of the city. You know, you can have people from both sides of the town kind of come to the well and see that, oh, it's not that bad. And actually there is a lot of value there. They get comfortable drinking the same water, and then we can slowly have a conversation about collaboration.
Yeah. Or wine helps too, but
Oh,
whatever.
wine. It's the winery in the center of the town.
Winery instead of the water well.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Okay. So, do you want to talk about this kind of initiative that we've been working on together? We've actually been meeting like weekly for a while now. And we're working on this we're trying to move the profession in a big way. So tell people about that.
Well, your background and my background are similar, right? I think we got into a profession because we thought that was the way that we were going to deliver value to the marketplace. What we realized probably is that we're entrepreneurs at heart. And so when we saw an opportunity, you saw an opportunity based on your experience delivering tax planning, and you looked in the marketplace and went, I feel like we could do a better job delivering a tax planning experience and software and deliverable to a client. You know, mine was a little bit different, but we've both come to this place where we've built these companies that are, as you said, I think leading the industries collectively in a new direction, which is more around advisory services and more around, as we've talked about, collaboration with professionals versus just being reactive in our own individual little silos. So I think the opportunity is obvious, which is you've done a great job delivering or developing a tax planning software, and you have a large following, rightfully so, of accountants that are, I'd say, ahead of the curve, and some advisors that are starting to follow it, but without a tax planning background, you've primarily attracted accountants. And likewise, you know, we've done I think a pretty good job. We've had over 1,200 advisors over the 10 years that we've trained to really leverage this model. And so we have, you know, hundreds of advisors that are interested in understanding how do I take my virtual family office services to the next level. And one of the 5 areas of a virtual family office that we talk about is tax planning. So you have tax planning, wealth management, risk mitigation, business advisory, and legal services. So when it comes to the tax planning initiatives, Tax Plan IQ is an incredible tool for them to use. So what was it? June of 2024, we had you at our annual conference. We had a couple hundred people in the room, and we talked about how the Tax Plan IQ tool can help these advisors and their accountant partners to, I think, make some significant impact in their ability to analyze tax planning opportunities and deliver tax planning to their clients. So we saw the response we were hoping to, which is a lot of people were excited about it. There's a lot of excitement around that. And I think it just gave us a little bit more, fuel to continue our weekly discussions about what this synergy looks like between our 2 companies and overall our 2 communities. So we're continuing to explore initiatives on how do we introduce Tax Plan IQ into our community and vice versa. How do you introduce more of this virtual family office, as well as relationships and partnerships with advisors that when they've gone through our training and they've completed a series of requirements over a 12-month period, we call them team-based model certified professionals.
Okay.
It's basically just an advisor that we feel like has really embodied the idea of this collaborative nature. So there are accountants in your community, as we've discovered, that have really latched onto and done a good job to start integrating tax planning into their services, and now are open to additional strategic partnerships. So that's kind of where our advisors come in. So I'd love for you to summarize anything in your words, Jackie. Obviously, you're the host of this podcast and you asked me the question, but is there anything that I missed that you wanted me to touch on there?
Oh gosh. I guess what comes to mind for me is just the relationships that we have seen working so well. We happen to have cross users or, financial advisors and accountants that were already working together on both of our platforms before we even knew it. And then we start talking about it together and realizing these success stories and realizing that there's something really, really much bigger there. And then coming and keynoting at your conference was such a pleasure. I think it was my favorite one all year, which I went to a lot of conferences this year because everyone made eye contact with me. It was like the financial advisors are really nice people. And they were so excited about what we were doing. So, it's overall just like really good vibes. I know you have a great heart for it and I do too. And it's just a pleasure to do all this together and have other people that really care as much as I do. But yeah, I mean, for those that are listening, if you're not already a part of one or both of our communities, we're still looking for you. So come find us, please, on LinkedIn, Tax on IQ, ERT. What's y'all's website, Anton?
EliteResourceTeam.com.
EliteResourceTeam.com. That's very easy. Jackie forgot it. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, we are here to help and we're seeing tremendous results with people. So yeah, I think you did a really good job summarizing it. I can just, cheerlead it on a little bit more over here.
There we go. Good.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Why do you think it is so important for strategic advisors to partner together versus doing it on their own?
Yeah, good question. I think so. Actually, at that conference that you keynoted, I opened with a quote that I used in a book that I co-authored as well with an accountant. But it was, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And the concept is it's always going to be easier to just stay in your own little silo and kind of do the things you're used to doing and be comfortable within your. But if you look at what your clients want or the marketplace overall, which is why I think we've had so much excitement between our communities, people don't want, especially today, to work with a bunch of individual professionals that all have their own opinions and disjointed advice, and there's very little collaboration. And I think what's happened because of technology and market shifts and the economy and such is more than ever, clients are saying, I would love my professionals to actually work together and to collaborate with one another, to have open communication about the advice they're giving me. Save me some time, please, and create better results. And the litmus test or the acid test of the concept of that is if you look at what the wealthiest families do and have done for decades, the classic example would be the Rockefellers. The Rockefellers are often noted as the first family to create a family office. And the reason why the ultra affluent will create a family office or a multifamily office or work with one is because it is what produces the best results with the most efficient input of time and money. Well, money is challenging for people that aren't at the, call it 100+ million net worth. So you look at that as an example of what people want if they understand the power of collaboration, not just like cooperation. Sometimes clients will say, oh, my CPA and advisor talk once a year and they compare notes. That's like cooperating. That's better than throwing sand at each other in the sandbox, which is what 90% of the industry does.
Yeah.
But cooperation is still far, far away from collaboration. Collaboration is when they get together proactively on the client's behalf to share ideas before there's a fire, before the client calls and asks a question. It's how do we become more proactive and holistic for our clients to see the problems that they don't even know exist and to see the opportunities that they don't even know the questions to ask that we can identify.
Yeah, for sure. That makes perfect sense. Speaking of that conference, I have a little B-reel here of Anton doing the worm. No, just kidding. I do have that evidence with my good friend Kindle, but I'll save that for another day.
Started by an accountant, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I was a CPA that started out. I just followed along. I wanted to be a good partner and participate.
Exactly. Yes, and you did so well. And you're very tall, so it makes the worm a little bit harder sometimes. I don't know. I can't do it. So kudos to y'all. No, I have to tell a little embarrassing story here. So, I've known Anton for a while now, and we meet constantly. I was keynote at his conference this year, and just maybe like 2 months ago, we're in one of our weekly meetings, and he's like, he was gonna guest speak at one of Tax Fund IQ's events. And so he's like, by the way, Jackie, just so you know, my name's actually pronounced Anton, not Anton. And I'm like, oh my God. I was so embarrassed. I have been calling him the wrong name this whole time.
You're not the only one.
And you were so sweet about it, but I was so embarrassed. And I was like, I normally ask, like 98% of people, I ask them the first time I meet them or second time even, exactly how do you pronounce your name or whatnot. I never did that with you. You never corrected me because you're too nice of a person. And then we got this far down, like this rabbit hole. And now I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. So I'm always like correcting other people now. I'm like, do not call him that. You got to call him the right name. But yeah, so you're very kind with the way that you brought that up. But yeah, it's Anton, y'all. Okay.
For what it's worth, you've done a perfect job on the webinar. On the podcast today.
Awesome. Okay, so are you sharing any of your upcoming secret-y, pilot-y stuff yet? Or is that TBD? What's going on there?
Secret-y, pilot-y stuff. We got a couple things I can share.
Okay.
Well.
It's too secret-y. Sorry.
One of the things that we've seen is there's enough shifts happening where it's a steep learning curve for somebody to come in and learn about offering proactive planning or tax planning, charging for that, integrating a partnership and collaboration into their model, using the tools and the virtual family office experts. And so I'd say in the last 2 years, the pendulum of our company has been swinging from purely training and education, where we provide all of that, and then the client, whether it's an advisor or an accountant they're working with, meaning our client, our member, studies that material, comes back to us with questions, but they're on their own. And the pendulum's been swinging towards more and more of us growing our internal team and actually doing a lot of the work alongside them. Never required, but to whatever extent they want us to. And so the more we are getting involved, especially for the first, call it 6 to 12 months of a new relationship, the better the results are. And it makes sense when you think about it. It's just, if you're going on a road trip and you've never been there before, you're going to be more successful if somebody else is in the car with you who's gone on that trip 50 times.
Sure.
So that's our internal coaches and our teams. And we've had 3 people join us in the last month, basically, and we'll probably hiring a couple more by the end of the year to really come alongside our members. And again, whether that's an advisor or an accountant, when they're trying to offer this type of advanced planning and more of this proactive holistic services, we can participate with them to whatever extent they want. That can mean helping them to identify service levels or their pricing. That can mean sitting in meetings with them and their prospects, sitting in meetings with them and their clients to help explain things or deliver planning solutions. So there's, when you talk about piloting, we're actually piloting that as we speak, which is when a new advisor or advisor accountant come into our community, literally from day one, we sit with them and we help them identify the ideal clients and prospects to reach out to, exactly what to say. We provide them with a template of the presentation. We role play that with them, and then we attend those meetings. They essentially introduce us as part of their team. They only have to do about 10% of the conversation. We take about 90% of the conversation. And slowly over a 90-day period, we continue to train them and role play with them as they get more and more comfortable, to ultimately the point where ideally they can take that, trip and drive that car on their own. So we're piloting it right now. The results have been phenomenal. Really excited about it, and look to roll that out by the end of this year or early 2025 to I'd say the marketplace at whole.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, we kind of discovered the same exact thing this year for some reason, that you need to just holistic's such an overused word, but it really is just like plugging in anywhere and everywhere you can to support people, because everyone has different struggles as to how they're going to get started as an advisor, how to sell, the technical side. Everyone has these different reasons why they can't do certain things. And so, we had implemented the top growth plan at Tax Plan IQ this year, and it's going phenomenal as well, where we're like literally teaching them every single aspect of sales, implementation, technical. And so it's funny because what you're doing is, it's actually more hand-holding than what we are, because we're not going, meeting with the clients with them. That's really cool. But there's something there that I think going the extra mile there is really going to pay off. And so I'm excited to see what comes of it for sure.
I am as well. And part of the reason we're doing it is, when you look at the adoption rate or success rate of our community, what you see is, if we can get people past the first 60 days of integrating, which makes sense, right? It's habits. Anytime you're trying to learn a new habit, like you have to maintain a level of consistency and activity for an extended period of time, so that becomes your new normal. And by far the largest, I'd say, drop-off rate is those first 60 days. And so it's a simple, in a way, business decision for us is, well, what if we invest a tremendous amount of time and energy? We don't charge anything extra for it, but using that Mount Everest analogy, we are the Sherpas that have been up and down the mountain multiple times, and now we're saying, essentially, we're here, we're going to walk with you. We can hold some of your water and your weight, and not only show you the path, but kind of help you avoid a lot of the common pitfalls, etc. So I'm really excited, and ultimately, like you said, I have a heart for it, and you do too. It really is driven by a motivation of, I believe this is the direction things are going, and I want to do anything I can to play my little role in continuing to help our industries to move in this direction.
Yeah. So let's circle back to that a little bit. Let's get practical. Let's say an accountant or financial advisor are like, okay, I've had some really bad experiences with the other party in the past. I would like to find a good positive experience here or partnership, but I'm scared, how do I test this out? I don't want to just jump into bed with somebody here. That's probably a bad analogy. But you know what I mean? So where do they start? What do they do?
Yeah. So we have an internal team. We're around 20 people. And typically what we suggest is have a conversation with us first. So let us know a little bit about, what does your business look like right now? What are those past experiences that you referenced were bad experiences? Why were they bad? What did you not like? What are you trying to build, and how far along that path do you feel like you are, and what are the roadblocks currently? So we can get a sense of all that information, and then say, kind of based on that, we have a much higher likelihood of being able to introduce somebody, or multiple people even, that truly would be synergistic to you and your goals. And whether that looks like one individual advisor or partnership that you're coming together and you're working together, or maybe it's a combination of coaches on our team and one or two advisors and our virtual family office. Like we can kind of customize a little bit more what it is that either of the professionals need to just make sure that it's a fit for what they're trying to build.
Where have you seen, Where have you seen this go wrong? Like, what's a red flag to look out for?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So a lot of where it goes wrong is coming from, I'd say, an outdated mindset,
Mm,
either that we're just here to trade referrals back and forth, as much as we try to say it's about introducing clients into your ecosystem. You've created a team, and this is a team approach. It's very easy to default back to what we're used to, which is I'm busy. Here's a name and a phone number. Can you help them? Or can you give me a name and a phone number? As if it's like the relationship is very transactional.
mm-hmm.
So, really, the first step in a way is just slowly building that trust and resetting the mindset from like, we're here to just trade referrals and it's some transactional deal to we're here to just create synergy. You have strengths, Jackie. I have strengths. Believe it or not. And ideally, those strengths create
Wait,
synergy
believe what or
together.
not, that you have strengths?
Believe it or not, that we have complementary strengths.
Oh,
Yes.
complementary strengths. Okay, yeah. I'm like, I'm sure you have strengths. Don't worry.
We have complementary strengths, and some of those might be the way we communicate. Some of those might be our training. Some of those might be what we can speak to clients about because of our licensing or because of our past experience. Some of those might be revenue streams or an ability to generate revenue in different activities. So there's a lot of ways that synergy can be created. And I think it's just about slowing down and recognizing that those strengths truly can be complementary.
Mm-hmm. And we noticed from between your book, your intro at the conference, and then my keynote at the conference, the problems or weaknesses that we have are very complementary as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we all are going through the same thing. What did you call it? Like a frog being heat up in a
Frog
pot
in
or
boiling
something?
water?
Yeah, there you go. Frog boiling in water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about those kind of joint problems that both of our industries are going through.
So I think you have technology disruptions and you have outsourcing challenges. And then you just have shifts in the marketplace in terms of what clients are looking for. So from a technology perspective, on the advisor side, they have robo-advisors and there's being price commoditization. It's being pushed down, much like on the CPA side in terms of what you could charge for a tax return or bookkeeping services. So anytime you're providing a commodity, you are at risk of having your prices cut by either technology or outsourcing or a combination of the two. So I think the challenges there really are we feel like we're working harder and harder to maintain or we're even losing ground, regardless of how hard we're working. There's a shift in the way that clients look at us and how easily accessible information is. And so I think the more we can put ourselves as a trusted advisor, where we truly are not just doing one or two services, but we are the go-to professionals for our ideal clients, the more we can kind of counterbalance those shifts that are taking place. And not only counterbalance them, but we can actually, I mean, you know this, Jackie, and your listeners do too, I'm sure, but by adopting a more unique value proposition, not only can you kind of counterbalance the shifts, but you can actually far exceed what you previously had from your business. If you can deliver value that clients are willing to pay for and they can't get easily by technology or from your competition, you can ultimately earn more. People are willing to pay for value. So the more value you deliver, the more you can essentially charge.
Oh, for sure. So let's talk about that. What's a scenario or a partnership between accountant and financial advisor that you've seen go really well?
Yeah, I mean, there's one that we spoke about at that conference, and it was an advisor and an accountant that had partnered together. And the advisor started explaining the power of the virtual family office. The accountant was saying, I love the concept, but I'm busy. Like I'm really inundated. And he said, okay, well, let's carve out some consistent time where we can start just identifying clients that might benefit in a big way, not make little tweaks here and there, but benefit in a big way from truly this more proactive communication approach leveraged by the virtual family office. So they started to commit 30 minutes once a week to the collaborative nature of this partnership. Within a week or two, they identified one of their clients. It was a government contractor. There was 90 employees. And this is a bigger example, but it's a great example. And the company had multiple owners. They were constantly complaining about their taxes. They had different professionals that had given them all different types of advice. They had an asset manager that was managing their individual portfolios. They had a qualified plan expert that put in a 401k, but there's very, very little collaboration that happened there. They had the CPA that was doing the tax work. And so they looked at that client. They identified that the plan actually was prepared wrong. And if it was to get audited, there would have been massive fees, that there was some clear tax savings opportunities in the way they structured the entity, as well as in the type of qualified plan that they selected. And then there was a need for more of a key man type of planning to do with the business owners. So they worked with 2 experts in the virtual family office. Ultimately, the VFO experts charged somewhere, it was less than $100,000. Each of the advisor and the accountant both made $103,000 between the work and the revenue that was generated by putting the different strategies in place. And the client in the first year saved just shy of $4 million in taxes, and over subsequent years saved about $9 million more in additional taxes. So it's like, you look at all the numbers and you just go, huge win-win-win, which is what we're attempting to create here. It was a win for the VFO experts because they were able to come in and work with a really good client that was already teed up by the advisor and accountant. A huge win for the accountant and advisor because they're both generating 6 figures and helping this client do way more than they could have on their own. And then it was a win for the client because they were saving 7 figures. I mean, multi 7 figures in taxes.
That's awesome.
It's phenomenal. And like, that was one of their first experiences working together and leveraging VFO experts. And so they were at the conference just going, our minds just exploded. Otherwise, this was a client that the accountant was charging a few $1,000s a year for, just doing the business returns.
Yeah. And imagine at the end of the day, just forget about the monetary, which is awesome, but like the feeling that those advisors had, the feeling that that client had, that they knew that everyone like did their best that they could possibly do. And I mean, you're like, you're welcome, I'm done, mic drop, like what else are you going to do? That's amazing stuff. And so I like that example because you just showed correct me accounts if I'm wrong, maybe 4,000% ROI or something like that. I don't know. And individually, I would say accountants or tax advisors and financial advisors can average maybe 300 to 500% immediate ROI with smaller strategies. But by combining that power, I've noticed that they are catapulting that ROI up into like the thousands, which is just spectacular stuff. So
wow,
yeah, it's like
that's
multiplying
a very interesting observation.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exciting to hear.
It is, yes. Awesome. So let's see. Anything else that you want to share in regards to that accountant advisor relationship that we haven't touched on?
I think we've spoken to it. I think if it's you spoke about it earlier that the lines are blending, and so there's more accountants, and you're aware of the communities that have been encouraging CPAs and EAs to get securities license or insurance license for a decade or so.
Yeah.
I think the thing that they underestimate, and I'll speak about what the advisors underestimate in a moment, but it is a different skill set, and you can do it, but at some point you kind of have to go, what do I really want to be good at?
Yeah.
And what do I really enjoy doing? You add the combination of those 2 factors. What am I good at? What am I enjoy doing? Focus on those. And then don't try to go out and become a jack of all trades. Just like really focus on being, the analogy I use is the Michael Jordan of what you love doing. And then form partnerships with other incredible professionals that allow your entire team to perform at a higher level versus you really kind of distracting yourself by continuing to become more and more to people with more, trying to get more licenses, trying to go out and become a an expert in all of these things, because at the end of the day, there's only so much time and energy that we have. So it's much like the advisors that are going out and attempting to get their EA designation or something. It's, you can do it, and you'll have some success, or the CPAs listening. If you get insurance license, you try to offer this or financial planning to your clients directly, like, you might have some success. But I just think it's a much better approach to say, what is it that I love doing, I'm good at? And then let me find other people that are really good at what they do and they love. And then together we're going to attract such a better client, and we're going to be able to generate more revenue by delivering better services to their clients.
Yeah.
So
that totally makes sense. Okay, so as we kind of wrap up for today, I know you are very generous with the book that you did write, because you can go online and get a free copy. And so I'd love for our viewers and listeners, we'll put a link in the show notes for that. Is it easy to verbally say what that link is?
I think so.
Okay,
I
go.
think so. www.teambasedmodel.com.
There you go. Awesome.
Model.com. And then there's, you referenced the ebook for free. We have template presentations if somebody wants disclosures or to see what due diligence we do on our VFO experts. We have that in there. There's half a dozen free things that we try to make available on that site.
Yeah, and it's an easy read. It's not gonna like boggle your mind with like complex formulas or anything. It's very like understandable. And I read it like a couple of times actually, just I think because I was going to be at your conference, but also because it was just, I liked the flow of it. It was easy. Now you used Paul McManus to help you with that process. How long did it take you to write this book? And is this the first one that you've ever done?
It is the first one. Yes, officially. And I want to say we did it in a 90-day period or less, because we kind of committed to it and then looked and went, oh, it'd be neat. It'd be great if we had physical copies by the Elite Growth Academy.
Yeah. And
then worked backwards from there. And he said, we can do it. Got about 90 days. Okay. And I think you've had him on your podcast in the past. Yeah. I love Paul. And, we text back and forth. He knew I was going to be on today. But he's created something pretty interesting with his company and his ability to help advisors and accountants write books in a much more efficient way. So I think that's a really interesting topic, and I'm already contracted to do another one with him sometime later this year or early next year. Yeah.
Okay, so you have the topic picked and everything?
I do.
Ooh, exciting. All right, more secret-y stuff. We'll have to circle back to that in a few months. Is there a different book that you're like, hands down, you've got to read this, other than yours, of course?
Yes. I think a book that's absolutely worth reading, if this conversation at all resonates or piques curiosity, is one by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy called Who Not How. And it came out within the last 1 or 2 years. And when I was reading it, I was like, this is exactly what we've been talking about for a decade. It's all about essentially leveraging other who's rather than trying to ask yourself, how do I offer this? How do I become that? How do I do that? Focus on what you're really good at and you love doing. Find other people and build a team of those professionals to avoid becoming a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Or Jane.
I have to plug a different book that just came to mind from Dr. Ben Hardy. Personality Isn't Permanent. It's not one of his more known books, but it actually could fit into this discussion really well as well, because it's like, you are born a certain way, you have mannerisms a certain way, but you can adapt those to the people that you're working with. And that's important to do, whether it's an accountant financial advisor relationship or accountant client relationship. We all think different. We're all kind of different disc profiles and all that jazz. And so it was a really eye-opening book of like, wow, I can be whoever I want to be. And I can also like adapt so that other people understand me better too. So got to throw that one out there. All right. Awesome. So how can people get in touch with you to learn more?
Appreciate it. I think the easiest way is just on our website, eliteresourceteam.com. And you'll see information there. We've got a ton of free blogs, ton of free videos, reviews and testimonials from other clients if you're curious what this looks like. And overall, I would just say, whether it's us or another group, or right now or at some point in the future, pay attention if you're not already bought into this concept, because I really do believe that we are at the early stages of some significant shifts in the marketplace and the way we deliver value to clients. And so I have too many conversations where people feel like this is another flashy, gimmicky
shiny
sales
object
program, or shiny object. And overall, I've been in it long enough, and I think you have as well, Jackie, with your own experience, to go, nah, this is something bigger that's happening. And it was accelerated by COVID. It's accelerated by technology, but I think it's really driven by a deeper, appreciation for efficiency and collaboration. And that's ultimately what clients want and what professionals want. So I would just say, if you're skeptical, I completely understand. That's healthy, and still take the time to be at least open enough to look at what's going on here.
Yeah. Very, very good advice. Thank you so much for joining me today. This was really a great conversation. We'll have to do some recurring ones as the secret-y stuff comes out more. But yeah, Anton will be one of our keynotes at our second ever virtual all-day conference at Tax Plan IQ, late October. So we're looking forward to that. In May, we did our first one ever and had over 1,000 people. And when I mentioned that to others, they're like, that is 3 times as much as industry conferences that have been around for a decade plus. So we're really, really happy with how excited people were about learning about tax advisory. It's a complimentary conference, so it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're really looking forward to having you. So thanks again for your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I look forward to being there, and I appreciate you having me on today. Thank you for listening and the time, everybody.
Yeah, take care, y'all. Thank you for listening to the Concierge CPA, hosted by Tax Plan IQ. We believe that every person has a unique message that can positively impact the world. If you are a successful accounting firm owner or influencer who would like to be on this program, please visit JackieMeyerCPA.com, JackieMeyer CPA.com to apply. Please share this on social media and rate us so we can continue our good work. Join our Facebook group called Accounting Firm Influencers, or connect with me on most platforms under Jackie Meyer CPA. Thanks for being accountable to transforming our industry today.